In the last video, we were discussing how to draw the inside and the outside of a triangle. In this case, we're filling in the inside. Here we're not. I drew an oversized diagram to show what this would look like in the three-color case. And I mentioned what this might look like if we shrunk the lines down to 1 pixel like we normally use. But let's just take a look. Why should we speculate? It's a copy of the same file that we've been running, local copy. Not changing what's on the internet. So every time we draw a line, we use this function. Oh yeah, I'm not using Notepad anymore. It's a much nicer editor. Instead of 10 pixels, let's just say 1. That's what we've been discussing. And let's take a look. It's a little thicker. Honestly, I wouldn't use any of these lines. I think they're all too thin. I like the sample we were building better with these thick lines. If I was going to go that route. Again, I said it was complicated because you have to remember the 3 colors surrounding each triangle, but maybe I'll get bored and redraw this. There was another issue with this, with the new triangles, the 3 colors. The timing is just slightly different. For this original program, every time the timer went off, we would either draw a line or fill in a triangle, or we would redraw the entire triangle. Those were the only 3 options. In this adapted version of the code, we never fill anything in. The first time I ran it, there were these strange pauses every time we got to the smallest triangle and we couldn't do anything. So I wanted to get rid of those. Let's take a look at the code. It's a very small fix. It was fairly easy to do once I found it. So a lot of this is the exact same code that we saw last time. Oops. This is our sample code, the stroke versus fill, the oversized diagram. Here we are. This is 3 colors. Again, this started exactly the same. Here's the 10 random points to draw the triangle, the initial triangle. Here we are. So here we're looking at a single triangle. And this code is mostly the same as what we saw last time. But here, if the triangle is too thin, or if there's some other reason why we can't fill in the triangle that we're looking at, we used to just draw it. That's when we would fill it in with this darker color of red, and then we'd return false. And if you remember, I said we weren't using this false on the first project, but we are now. So now we don't actually draw anything in this case. We only draw lines. We never fill them in. And if there's no line to be drawn, we just say false. And if everything succeeds, here we are actually drawing the line, and we return true. It's the color list. You want to add some other colors just for fun, just to see what would happen? If I say black, what if I don't type it? I just type it in English. I think that might even work. I'm so used to these HTML colors. File, save. 3 colors. Again, I'm just changing the local copy on my hard drive. I'm not changing what's on the internet. Hey, now there's 4 colors. So that change actually worked. You know, we have real code. You can see them side by side. This one's 4 colors, that one's 3 colors. Oh, I mentioned these strange words that JavaScript uses. I mentioned this, I think, in the first triangle video. And all we're saying here is when it's time to grab a color, you start by grabbing the item that's on the far left, in this case, red. Then you push it onto the end. So it'd be right here after the word black instead of at the beginning. And you return a copy of this color that we just moved from the front of the list to the back of the list. Again, those words are a little bit weird, but it just means take from one end or add to one end, and you can say which end. You know what? Let's take an even closer look at that code. So here's the getNextColor function that we were looking at. Here's where we use it. And here's something that I commented out. I had some debug code that would let us see what's going on. Save. Refresh. Initially, you don't see anything. The log is hiding, but we'll just go to our debugger here. And sure enough, let's hit pause. And we have this thing here. We print out the current color and whatever is remaining in the list. So here we had just grabbed red off the list, and red is the last thing on the list, exactly as I said it would be. We grabbed it off the left, we pushed it back onto the right, and then that's the value that we use. Next one, green, again, is the color we're using, and green is now the last thing on the list. See, everything shifted over. In fact, that's what this command is. Color list shift. You grab the first one and shift all the other ones over. And then blue, and blue is at the end. Black, black is at the end. Then we went all the way around, and here's red, and red at the end of the list. Do one triangle. So this is the other big function that changed a lot in this version. So now we have a loop. We're just going to keep trying over and over. That's what while true means. Just keep trying over and over until I tell you not to. So if there's a problem, we just try again. So the first thing is triangle's length equals 0. That means there's just no more triangles to even look at. Well, in that case, we give up. And again, we return false. We just say, nope, we couldn't do anything. So whoever's calling us, they get some feedback. Then we grab, this part you've probably seen before, as in one of the previous videos. We're going to either grab from the front or the end. Remember, shift, I said, was from the front, and that's also associated with breadth first search. Then we try the do triangle code, the stuff we were just looking at, the part that decides whether to split a triangle into half or whether to give up on it. So if do triangle returned true, that meant it did some work. It cut something in half. So we're done. We're going to jump out of this function and we're going to say, hey, we did something. On the other hand, if do triangle didn't do anything, if it said the triangle was too thin, I'm just giving up, then we're just going to jump back to the top of this loop and try again. Same thing over and over until either we run out of triangles or we find a good one where we could draw a line through it. Finally, we get to do one step. So remember, we would say do one step immediately when we first start, then we go to sleep for a short time. Then we do one step again and go to sleep again. That's what this function does. So we are going to call do one triangle. We're going to try to split a triangle in half. That's the function we just looked at here. This exclamation point means if it failed. If we couldn't find any triangles left, then we reset the drawing. So there's basically only two things you can do. Either you can draw a line in an existing triangle, or you can restart by drawing the first triangle again. Then the rest of this is the same stuff we looked at before, grabbing the amount of time to pause. You sleep for 100 milliseconds, the thing will move much faster. You sleep for 1 second, the thing goes much slower. So that's what this is, it's the speed. So those were the only two real issues here. I showed you how to change the colors, showed you how we adjusted the timing since we're not filling anything in. And in the previous video, I discussed why it was difficult to fill in and to draw lines. And maybe that'll be another project if I get bored. Well, this has been fun, but this left me with an obvious question. What would it look like if, instead of just drawing lines, I only filled in the centers? That's what we'll look at next time.